The first president of the university, David Starr Jordan, questioned why we even needed a newspaper on campus. It was a 4-page pamphlet, announced events on campus like dances, theater productions, reported on the president's wonderful sermons and choir performances.
1894, my father, he was one of 2 people that started the Stanford Daily. And he said he spent a lot of time going around trying to get advertisers.
The Daily was well read. It was 4 pages. It was circulated for free on campus. Once a week we had 6 pages. Every once in a while we'd have 8 pages. But we pretty well covered the campus.
I came down to Stanford in the summer of 43, and most of the men had left for the war, and we women pretty much took charge of the important things going on. You signed up as a freshman for the Daily and had to go through tryouts to be on the staff. When we did begin, we took over many of the jobs that the men had done and worked with everybody, including the linotype operators who were back there.
When I first started working at the Daily, it was hot type. There was no internet yet, so it was all print. And we published, I think, 15,000 copies a day. They were printed first in Menlo Park, then in San Jose, trucked onto campus every day. It was all consuming. I mean, it was just, you went to work during the day, and then the paper was put together at night. We never finished work on it until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Newspapers hold governing bodies accountable, and we tried to hold the university and its administration accountable.
After a particular demonstration, people had been arrested, and one of those arrested who'd worked sometimes for the Daily, whose name was Diarmuid McGuire, wrote a column about being in jail. He talked about how people in jail handled snitches. It wasn't pretty. He used physical descriptions of violence used in prison. And then he brought it out to the larger context of the Stanford community and radical meetings, and the last words in the column were, "Take care of snitches."
I think the university, having gone through the whole take care of snitches issue, was acutely aware that the Daily could do something that would open the university to substantial liability. And I think those 2 strains, our desire to be independent, to make sure that our editorial voice and independence were assured, and the university's desire to make sure that we didn't get them into an incredible amount of hot water, sort of came together. In the early 70s, we put together a plan to legally sever the relationship between the university and the Daily. We created an independent nonprofit corporation.
Ultimately, the university, I think, decided it's better not to have legal ownership of any of these things because the Daily was always, in danger of being sued or raided by the cops.
Police saw that we had photographs from the side where criminal acts had been committed, but we didn't have photographs of the criminal acts that we published. So they decided, because of our policy, we must have been, hiding those photographs and getting ready to destroy them. So instead of coming into the newspaper office with a subpoena, they came in with a search warrant.
A search warrant, which is far more extreme than a subpoena, had never been employed against a newspaper, and we felt this was a tremendously risky and dangerous precedent, not just for student newspapers, but for all news gatherers everywhere. Unfortunately, we lost at the Supreme Court level, and it was a blow to the freedom of the press then, and it has continued to be a blow to freedom of the press.
And so the work of the Daily was to try to make the Daily as professional as possible, as reliable and accurate and even-handed as possible.
I became a senior staff writer on the Daily. They paid me. I had to write a certain number of articles a week, and it was a serious gig. It was a lot of work. There were some serious issues that we probed. It was an actual newspaper.
It was not a fancy building back then, but it was just my home. I always say I majored in the Daily, and that was my dorm. And it was just, I was with my people. We were putting out a product. To this day, I love.
Then doing night editing for the Daily, which involved basically being there till like 2 a.m, putting the paper to bed and watching them do paste up. That experience and the people I met there and the camaraderie that I felt, we'd go out for pancakes at 3 a.m.
The best friends that I made at Stanford, and some of the best friends that I made in my life were the friends that I made at the Daily.
And I'd second that.
I just second it too.